I wish I had a good man like Papoose. RemyMa now want Papoose back, and he done moved in with his new girlfriend. Now she gotta play the hand that she picked. That man waited for her.
Even though it appeared to be just another day for RemyMa, it was the beginning of a storm that would rock her to her core. Remy was a powerful force in the rap industry, strong, independent, and unstoppable. But on this particular day, none of that was true. She had put a lot of effort into earning her position. As if she were trapped in a location she couldn't get out of, he waited for her. The streets of New York were their usual chaotic cells, with horns honking and people hurrying through life, but something was simmering in the shadows, waiting to explode. That would be sufficient to protect her from the consequences of one hasty decision. She had recently begun a new relationship that seemed like a dream at first. Her partner, Vanessa, had all the qualities Remy had been looking for. She was self-assured, gorgeous, and lively. As is sometimes the case, the magic ultimately faded, but at first they were inseparable, riding high on love and want. Little arguments became louder until they escalated into full-fledged conflicts. Remy struggled to control the situation, trying to find a balance between tenderness and control. Vanessa wasn't the type to keep quiet, but she kept the tension between them high by resisting when she felt pressured to. The altercation that changed everything was the result of a simple error or perhaps too many drinks. The same hands that had crafted inspirational phrases and operated microphones to ignite crowds betrayed her in a moment she could not recall. Remy's hand sprang to Vanessa's throat in a fit of rage, leaving a mark that neither of them could deny. Another argument, but this time it was more personal for Remy, reviving tension and jealousy as well as old wounds she had thought had healed. Before any of them could stop it, things went south, and her anger clouded her judgment. Her laboriously built armor exploded tonight, revealing the unadulterated anger that had been building inside of her for years. She had always been proud of her ability to maintain order, be the one with strength, and deal with life's obstacles with accuracy and composure. Remy shoved Vanessa hard against the wall, trapping her in a small area that felt like it was closing in on her. The sound of Vanessa's body hitting the plasterboard seemed to slow down for a second time, as Remy stood with her hands still outstretched and her chest rising and falling with the force of her breath. All that mattered then, though, was the storm that had been building for so long, the hatred, frustration, and fury. Vanessa struggled to stay upright, her fists gripping the wall, her eyes wide with terror, and her breath coming in quick spurts. For a moment, Vanessa's eyes flashed with surprise as Remy's steely, unblinking gaze seemed to be looking through her rather than at her. The words felt like a blow, and even though she didn't understand or know what Remy was saying, she knew that she had never seen her like this before. Never seen her so completely furious, so different from the person she thought she was. Her heart beat in her chest as she struggled to grasp the situation, get in touch with Remy, and penetrate the wall of wrath that appeared to, although it was their first disagreement, Remy had never lost control to this extent before. Vanessa could see and feel the danger in the air, a heavy, perilous energy that seemed to surround them both. It was oppressive. "You're not ready for this." With a voice as frigid as ice, Remy spat. She was no longer thinking or attempting to make sense of what was occurring. It was pure, unadulterated wrath, not a warning or a cry for understanding. Instead of trying to figure out how to save it, Vanessa, the unfortunate victim of the storm god, was just reacting to the situation, and her emotions were running wild. Because Remy would occasionally carry on talking while her voice became rougher and more menacing, people needed to know what was true. Vanessa's body started to tremble uncontrollably as the terror took over as she realized how dangerous this was and how helpless she was imprisoned. Desperation flooded her veins as she tried to. She attempted to break free from Remy's relentless hold, but it was unsuccessful because Remy was too powerful. Vanessa was unable to do anything except struggle, her movements becoming increasingly frantic as the awful weight of the situation crushed her soul until at last she screamed. But it wasn't just a cry. It was a terrible sound that tore through the air. The sound of someone who never imagined that their life would fall apart or that they would find themselves in this predicament. Remy's chest constricted, and her breath caught in her throat as Vanessa's scream pierced her like a blade. When Remy heard the sound of someone in pain and terrified for their life, her anger vanished, and she became extremely aware. As the gravity of the situation set in, her thoughts began to race with the knowledge that she had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, and the consequences were already playing out in front of her. Vanessa gasped and staggered back, clutching her throat. Her hands were shaking, and she was struggling to stay balanced. "Remy, you can't harm me." She spoke in a whisper that was almost audible, and Remy stopped as the words struck her like a blow to the body. They echoed in her mind, piercing the age haze that had clouded her judgment. She was stunned by what she had just done and had injured someone she cared about. Remy's heart was pounding and she felt awful and guilty. Since the damage had already been done, she was unable to provide an explanation or an apology to set things right. It's correct. Vanessa's hands were still shaking as she took up her phone from the table and dialed 911. She shouted in a panicked, frantic voice, "Please send help. I need help." A few minutes later, sirens were blasting and the sound of them. As the officers approached, Remy stood still, the dazzling lights piercing the darkness like a blinding storm. The cops' presence acted as a reminder of how severe the situation had just been, and within days, she was detained, handcuffed, and released from the flat. The cold metal of the shackles pressing into her wrists reminded her continually of the cage she had built for herself. After losing everything, Vanessa stood in the doorway, quivering with fear and dread as she saw Remy being led away. Vanessa had always prided herself on her strength and ability to maintain order. She couldn't find the perfect words to express how angry she was at Remy for what she had done. She was left with nothing to do but stand there and experience a wave of emptiness. When the police car vanished into the night, the seriousness of the situation became apparent. There was no turning back from a disagreement that had turned into something much darker. Remy and Vanessa would never be the same again. Vanessa wanted to yell, pry, or run after Remy, but she knew deep down that the truth of what had happened couldn't be changed. The darkness that had consumed her made that love seem like a dim recollection of the confidence she had placed in Remy. The world watched in shock as Remy, Massachusetts, the same woman who had risen from the streets to rule the rap game, found herself in such a depressing situation. Despite the efforts of Remy's lawyers to shield her, the damage was undeniable. The fear that would plague Vanessa long after Remy was gone vanished in that instant. I spilled into the courtroom for everyone to see in the weeks that followed their story. The evidence was unmistakable. Vanessa's scars were unquestionable physical evidence of the cruelty she had experienced. The defense played down the situation, describing it as an unfortunate instance in which SP had lost control during a fight between lovers. Testimony from witnesses who heard the screams painted a horrifying picture of what transpired behind closed doors. What was most depressing was that Remy was the focus of a sudden outburst that eclipsed a devastating story about her kingdom. With headlines that jumped from one ludicrous claim to another, each more disgusting than the last, the details offered the media a field day. Social media erupted in opinions, with some defending Remy and claiming that her violent background was merely a manifestation of trauma, while others condemned her actions and maintained that her fame would not change them. The pivotal moment in Massachusetts' life was her own confession, even though no one had anticipated it. Perhaps forgiveness could release her from the repercussions, but ultimately, the damage was already done. It was clear that Remy, Massachusetts would suffer a great deal as a result of her actions when the judge delivered the verdict. The seemingly lifelong sentence had a profound impact on her life. She had gone from being the queen of the rap industry, known as untouchable, to being in prison where her prior position as a well-known, powerful, and affluent individual meant nothing. There were no red carpets, and although her reputation had always been based on her toughness, strength, and determination, her persona was out of place in the cramped confines of a prison cell. She demonstrated the same traits that had made her invincible in the rap industry: her confidence, her sharp humor, and her fearlessness in the small area of a prison cell. She had to confront herself, possibly for the first time in her life. The anger that had been simmering beneath the surface for so long now bubbled over the pain, regrets, and mistakes. They all rushed in, filling the space that had previously only been occupied by a hardened determination. She was no longer the proud woman who used to rule the charts and walk with a swagger. She couldn't outsmart the system. She couldn't charm her way out of this. She was just another person in a state struggling to. She was forced to confront her darkest self, the anger that had caused her to harm the woman she claimed to love, the fear that had made her suppress her own regrets in the heat of the moment, and the grief that tore at her from within. All of the fame, wealth, and power she had previously taken for granted seemed to have vanished, leaving only the reality of her actions to face. Started to change, she could no longer ignore the depth of her feelings since she had injured someone she loved, and no amount of money, fame, or admirers could make that right. But more importantly, she had lost the trust of her friends, her fans, and, most painfully, the drama in full force who were accusing Remy of being unfaithful and defending Papo. She was forced to face the consequences of her actions in the silence of her prison cell. The life she had known, the red carpets, the crowds, the lights, was gone. In case you missed the juicy facts, it was announced last year that Remy, Massachusetts and Papo had split up. The rumors that Remy and Vanessa, the woman she formerly had a strong romantic interest in, were fighting underground did not sit well with Kirk. He accused Remy of attempting to stir things up even further and labeled her nasty. He commended Pap for maintaining his cool under pressure as Remy supposedly had extramarital affairs with other rappers. What occurs when feelings become unmanageable? Remy's narrative evolved into a powerful lesson about the consequences of avoiding responsibility and the price of unchecked anger. 18 Meanwhile, Papoose, who has always been known for his calm and collected manner, found himself in the middle of an emotional storm he never saw coming. More than just a financial setback, the court's decision to grant Vanessa $30 million in spousal support marked a sea change in their lives. It was a turning point in their journey that revealed all of the difficulties they had encountered over the years, and it had nothing to do with money. This time, despite their extensive experience, the foundation was irreparably harmed. Despite the ups and downs of the music industry, legal issues, and personal hardships, Poe had always stood by Remy and had faith in her potential. However, this was not genuine. The amount of papers felt significant, but not only due to its size, but also because of what it stood for. $30 million was more than just a legal victory. It was a chance for Remy, Massachusetts to start again in her life, profession, and possibly even her in-depth attendance. Although the victory was a significant event for him, it also caused him to reflect on everything they had gone through together. He was so relieved and proud that he woke up crying, not because he was unhappy or angry. He had always known that Remy was strong enough to conquer anything life threw at her, and he was overcome with emotion as he saw her reach this significant milestone. He had more than just pride during those times. He was humbled by their progress. He was thrilled about what they had done together, proud of Remy, and pleased with their relationship. The victory was hers. But in that moment, it seemed to belong to both of them. Papoose felt the weight of their journey and the strength of their relationship as he brushed away his tears. It's always so depressing to hear about Pat and Remy, isn't it? Even though I adore both of them, we can't truly know what they're going through behind closed doors. Therefore, we can't know what happened between them, which is incredibly terrible. This was a moment they would never forget. It wasn't about the money, it was about everything they had gone through to get here. It demonstrated the power, love, and bond that carried them through the most trying times in their lives. I understand that Manowar uncored hard and that I am uncored crazy, but I also understand that you need the right person. I'm not sure what really transpired, but you understand what I mean and what caused everyone to behave in that manner. If you're with the right person, life won't be too difficult. It will be like experiencing typical highs and lows, but you will weep and feel guilty if you're with someone who is wrong like Shay. They would say things like, "Kirk, you deserve that ____," but they would also say, "You know what? I love the fact that you love me, bro. Because you're with a lot of Kirk Frost, you couldn't just sit back and let Remy, Massachusetts make fun of Papoose. But if I were in your position, I wouldn't be doing that again," Kirk said, trembling as Remy accused Papoose of cheating with boxing champion Clarissa Shields. The woman who had previously gained respect by sheer willpower was now questioning every decision she had ever taken. If the throne she had built for herself had materialized, could she ever be forgiven for what she had done? Easy the Block Captain was a rapper who Papoose was close to, but their relationship went beyond that. Remy could never sleep, eat, or hear Vanessa's screams when she closed her eyes. When Remy started seeing someone else, it seemed like she was ready to move on from the past, but it wasn't that easy. A few days ago, Remy shocked everyone by revealing that Papoose had allegedly cheated on her with Clarissa Shields. She was charged with slander even though she had committed some of the same offenses against him. With Papoose seemingly stranded in the middle of the fighting lines, the drama isn't abating. She shared a screenshot of a private conversation between Papo and Clarissa and accused him of falling asleep. In actuality, Papoose was having a love relationship with another rapper while Remy was out having a blast, despite the fact that the internet was ablaze. Everyone knows that Remy, Massachusetts has built a reputation as a tough employer who doesn't think twice about stepping on people's toes. Now, let's hear Clarissa's thoughts. When Remy remarked, "You're not the only one," she didn't hold back. However, this time she was attempting to engage in combat with a more formidable opponent, and Clarissa's shield retaliated with a deadly phrase, "How does a woman with two?" Even though I've talked about it before, the truth is that we can never really understand what people are going through behind closed doors, or the conditions that led to events as they did, or the motivations behind people's acts. I understand that marriage and relationships can be difficult, but we only see a little portion of it. I like both of them, so you know how unfortunate this whole thing is. Without a doubt, if you want something to last, you need to have the right mindset and patience. With a proper partner, it won't feel impossible, despite the fact that you will have ups and downs. However, being with the wrong person might break you. You'll start to regret becoming connected. If you're not strong enough, you might not want to try again, but you'll eventually have the desire to keep going and try again. Given the circumstances that have transpired, it is now very obvious that a divorce may be the best course of action for Papo and Remy. It's difficult to understand how they could continue after everything that has transpired, to be honest. The relationship between Papoose and Remy has grown more complex, and Papo has repeatedly stated his desire for a divorce, citing Remy's repeated infidelity as support. Reaction. By revealing private communication, Remy has made her allegations that Papo cheated on boxer Claressa Shields public. The challenges and intricacies of partnerships are highlighted by this public back and forth. It is evident that the two sides hold divergent opinions, and the issue remains unresolved. Rapper Kirk Frost shared his opinions on the matter, saying he was not supporting either Papo or RemyMa and making a joke about not getting messages from women anymore because they have been acting so negatively. RemyMa, who initiated this controversy, is being accused by fans of playing the innocent victim. How are you all feeling? Was Papoose treated fairly by Remy, Massachusetts? Or are we not getting enough information from the media about this topic? RemyMa seems to be among those people who find it unbearable to watch their former lover succeed. Remy, Massachusetts is upset that Papoose has a new girlfriend and says she is coming across as ungrateful because she publicly humiliated him and let him continue. It was also brought out that Remy had too brazenly messed with the battle rapper. Please share your ideas in the comments section below, and don't forget to watch the next tea video. A woman who is unable to let go will attempt to discredit someone else in order to feel better. Moreover, why is Remy accusing guys of cheating when she cheated herself? A double standard seems to be in place.